Welcome, warrior. I am back. I've been out on the road for the last 2 weeks, but I am back in New York City and happy to be here. Thank you for joining Lynn's Warriors. Let's have a bit of a roll call before we get rolling so I can make sure all of you can see me, you can hear me. Please give me a 5 by 5. Let's see. I see Edie's here. Yes, Edie, thank you. Always number one warrior, telling everyone to hit the like button, something I forget to do. So thank you, Edie, for that. Edie's here. Fred's here. Uh, Edie and Fred are talking to each other, but give me a 5 by 5. There's Fred saying 5 by 5. That is good enough for me. Let's talk about a couple of things. As we travel the country and understand all of our support, our donations, uh, services offered to us, different things. I want everybody to understand. We don't really talk about it a lot, right? But all of that goes into our travel. Thank you, Lionel Nation, loud and clear. Good enough for me as well. Goes into our education programs, goes into supporting survivors of exploitation and trafficking. People forget that, it's not enough when you say, oh, you got somebody out of trafficking, you save somebody from exploitation. Yeah. And then what's next? Where do they go for a job? How do they live? Uh, because they've been involved in this exploitation, trafficking. Remember, we're on YouTube. We have algorithms here, everybody. Read between the lines. They may have criminal records. They can't get a job. They can't rent an apartment. They may have had no school. Okay. We have kids as young as 12 and 13 that have never even been to school. They've been forced, coerced, trafficked. So understand that's where all of our donations go to, all of our support. So thank you for all of those who are so kind and so generous to us. It is greatly appreciated, even when you sign up for memberships right here in the Warriors. We want to spread truth, facts, and things you're probably not hearing about on cable news and maybe on other online platforms. But I will say, coming back to the city, there is nothing like New York. I don't care what you say. I was out and about all day. The streets are packed. People are back in the offices. There is now that excitement in the air because tomorrow is the big Knicks parade here in the city. But I got to say, why can't people just be happy? Why do they have to burn school buses and attack cops and those few? It's always those few that ruin it for the masses, right? I mean, New York does need some momentum right now. Does need something good to happen. People love their sports, and then we've got media focusing on those few that come in and wreck everything. So, and also going on with the Knicks, I wish, and I actually posted something the other day, a statement, a Lynn's Warrior statement. I wish we could have the same enthusiasm. I know it's a dream, everybody, an enthusiasm for protecting our children. I can't tell you, I can't believe it's 5 o'clock New York City, Eastern Time. I don't even know what I've been nonstop with Washington today, with other, coalition calls around the country and individuals and working extensively on AI, artificial intelligence. Okay. This is crunch time, everybody. I kind of feel like it's now or never as we're going into, remember, Congress takes a whole month or so off, right? That's coming up. We've still got our Kids Online Safety Act. And I ask all of you, I'm going to ask you again. I'm going to urge you. I'm actually going to beg because I really have no shame about Kids Online Safety Act. This one small piece of legislation, and I don't want to hear from those bots that come after me slash us that this is taking away from our First Amendment rights and it's more, technology invading our homes. It's already here. It's already here. Let's accept the fact. Who's sticking up for our kids? Right? Why is this such a fight? Why are we fighting 4.5 years for Kids Online Safety Act? Again, bipartisan, right? I thought everybody would get on board with a little bit of duty of care that big tech, who just operates unregulated, could do a little something to help American families and kids since they make so much money off of all of our backs, right? Nobody asked for all of this. But it's been thrust upon us. Now, Fred brings up a good point about the Take It Down Act. Yes, we were there in the Rose Garden last May 19th when it was signed into law by President Trump and Melania Trump. And we were very proud of that. So we thought a natural progression would be the Kids Online Safety Act. Now, Take It Down Act is about deep fakes. But understand, even though that was signed a year ago, May Take It Down Act, it took 1 full year to enforce it. I don't ever understand why when something's signed into law, it doesn't immediately go into effect. I got to research a little bit on that one and ask some of the tech experts we work with, about this. We work with ethical technologists, right? Remember, everybody, as probably you are, we are pro innovation, we are pro technology, but we want it to work for us. We're not working for it. That is the way it should be. But Take It Down Act, the FTC, Federal Trade Commission, put out their website, which I posted on Lynn's Warriors. It's one of our resources where you report a deep fake, right? And they have 48 hours, whatever big tech platform you see this deep fake on, this image, to take it down, or else the FTC will take it over. Now, remember, in those 48 hours, images are retweeted, they are shared, they are downloaded, they are put on porn sites. Who knows? That's a long time, 48 hours. But the question I get a lot is, do you have to follow up on going after all those other people? Well, how would you? How would you know what to do? You report. FTC, please go to lynnswarriors.org. Look for that. I also put it, in X and Facebook. We have so many great free resources that we hope you never have to use. But if you do, you will have them handy, okay? You are to report, report, report. You know what? Why wouldn't you with all of this going on? So now let's transition into AI. AI. We're sitting on top of Father's Day, which is this Sunday. So we did a wonderful full-page ad for Mother's Day in the New York Post with our mothers. We don't want chocolates. We don't want scarves. We don't want anything. We want COSA, Kids Online Safety Act, Senate version, 1748, for our children as a gift. Now we're transitioning. We have Father's Day. And, I wanted to start talking a lot about something very important. I didn't see it pretty much at all in the media. I don't know why not, but I didn't see it. Several months back, 44 state attorneys general signed a letter, 44, everybody, to big tech CEOs. And you know the drill, it's Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp. And it's, Google, it's X, it's all the usual platforms, right? Saying that if you harm our children with AI, with your chatbots, with your chat companions, we are coming after you. Now, this is a lot of the work we're doing right now. The Warriors going back and forth to Washington. We'll be there next week, fighting very hard on the Hill for all of you, children and grandchildren, everybody in the United States. We are holding on June 23rd, Social Media Victims Remembrance Day. And that is on Capitol Hill. The public is welcome. And it is the saddest thing because once again, we have hundreds of pictures of children, their faces, forever 14, forever 12, forever 15, forever 9, and those little metal stands stuck all on Capitol Hill on the Senate lawn. We're doing it. You are overwhelmed when you see these images. You are overwhelmed when these parents flood into DC who will not give up on the messaging of you've got to do something. You've got to help with these social media harms. And don't give me that argument that parents should step up. I mean, people actually write horrible things to me with all these curse words. And, I guess if I wrote that stuff, like X would tell me I offended community standards or something like that, because that's happened to me, actually. Actually, I've reposted like a vetted article from a main outlet, and I've gotten a community standards. I didn't even write it. I just reposted it. I didn't even add anything to, I just reposted the article, something good about AI or something, we should be aware of about Kids Online Safety Act. But we all know in this digital age, right? Yes, parents do have a responsibility. I want to reiterate that if you buy these devices, because most of the parents and grandparents buy them because the kids want them. They've grown up in this digital bubble, 30 and under. Yes, you must step up. You must talk to your child. You must put the safety features, put them in effect. You must be aware of what apps your kids are using, what games, because I'm astounded on a daily basis when I say to parents, so, do you know what Kik is? K-I-K. No. It's a messaging app. Do you know what Roblox is? Yeah, my child's on it, but I don't know what they do. They create games. They play with their friends. No. Discord, another messaging app. And our great colleagues, our friends at the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, do a wonderful job of putting forth these issues that we at the Warriors then share with all of you. This is excellent, excellent work. A lot of, research goes into that. Remember, everybody, research costs money, okay? And that's another thing I hear. We don't have the money for the research. Well, we better find the money, everybody. Understand where funding goes here for all of these issues. And parents do have to step up, and parents can no longer have those blinders on. Parents have to take, I know, because I always say it, everybody's overwhelmed, everybody's trying to pay the bills. Yes, we all agree upon that. But you're going to have to, this to me is the real war. I don't want to get political. I kind of am a little bit, but the real war is right here in America. What happened to America first? American families, American children, their safety, their education, mentoring them, creating an atmosphere of safety for them so they can grow up and be great adults and future, perhaps, American leaders. So if you buy these devices, you must talk to your children. You must, I'm going to say it again, understand about things like routers. Things like nobody knows when I mention routers. I learned myself, again, from a great colleague of ours, Chris McKenna at Protect Young Eyes. And I want to point out that website is protectyoungeyes.com. I pointed out because Chris does amazing work with his team in breaking down apps, the games, all kinds of safety features, things about routers. I learned so much from him. And just to circle back a little bit about the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, EndSexualExploitation.org is their website, a wealth of knowledge, take actions and things like that we always want to share with you so you have the information. I'll put these links in the body of the video. But I want to get back to, so now we've got this letter, 44 state attorneys general, and we have 6 states that refuse to sign on. Now, why wouldn't you and these 44 state attorneys general say, we're going to come for you? And I'm telling you about this because the talk in Washington is this preemption. Does anybody know about what preemption means? I know we have a lag here. Anybody want to weigh in, say anything about what it means? Are you looking it up right now? Do you know what it means? It's funny when I put polls on Lynn's Warriors, I'll always be, and don't look it up. It's for my focus group because I'll ask a question like, did you ever hear of preemption? Did you ever hear of the Take It Down Act? Just so I have a general knowledge of what people are hearing about preemption. Anybody saying anything? I'm not seeing anything here. I'm seeing Smiling Sue saying hello to Fred and Edie. Okay. All right. Well, preemption. So right now we've had state laws, right, across America have done a very much better job than the federal government in putting out online, child safety legislation, dealing with AI, all of this. I'm kind of bottom line it here, right? And now the federal government wants to come in. I guess they're called, it's not really my language, but I'm going to say it, the big tech bros. So figure that one out. This group of guys from Silicon Valley who pushing agendas in Washington, a reminder who have lobbyists flooding the Hill, every day of the week, I believe, in the ears of our legislators and legislative aides and office personnel and staff. And they've got lots of money, of course, to do that, right? We at the Warriors go on our own dime, right? We don't have that kind of dough. And when we do have the money, everybody, we put it into education. We put it into helping the survivors who were always fighting for housing or some sort of job for them or speaking fees, or we have to fight so hard for things that seem like you shouldn't even have to fight for them at all. You ask, you should get. Okay. So right now, the federal government wants to create this, and there'll be more coming out this week and next on all of this. But it's a lot of our work at the Warriors, preemption. They want to come in sweeping in with some sort of preemption of these state laws and just kind of wipe them away and have one federal standard. Now, there's a part of me that kind of gets it. However, what they're proposing, I don't get it all, because this is, the cat out of the bag, so to speak, genie out of the bottle. The history of big tech, we have about 30 years now, since 1996, sort of considered the birth of the internet. All of this knowledge right now, whether we have studies on our kids, on our families, we have medical evidence, we have, again, the doctors and psychologists, we have educators, the teachers, we have whistleblowers, the most important. These brave whistleblowers who worked at these big tech companies and who put their lives, frankly, on the line, they've come forward. They could not ethically work in these companies anymore, knowing how they're harming children. If we didn't have these whistleblowers to come forward and share internal memos, share internal information, share their voice, share what they heard, they know, we would not be this far along in a lot of our work. But right now, the federal government wants to come along and they're creating some sort of AI framework around this AI. There was, I don't know if you recall, last year it was going to be this 10-year free ride for AI around the country where nobody could do anything to them. They just free reign, okay? And all I keep seeing, and I'm not picking on him because it's all a big tech, but I keep seeing Mark Zuckerberg's face. I see it in my sleep. I see it when I wake up in the morning. The time in 2024, he was called before Congress and was asked to turn around and apologize to parents sitting there whose children are no longer with us, harmed by social media, whether it's sextortion, cyberbullying, eating disorders, trafficking, all kinds of horrible crimes. And I keep hearing his voice, I kid you not, with his watered down apology and frankly lying in front of Congress, which I thought was an offense. But nothing seems to happen to Mark Zuckerberg. He just keeps rolling along, including, I saw pictures of him at the UFC event Sunday night, running around the White House. Okay. So we as American citizens, as families, as parents and grandparents, you may not even have kids. This affects all of this. This really boils down, look at it this way, as a national security threat, right? Stealing the minds and the health of our children. How are they going to grow up and be healthy adults and lead our country, or just lead their lives or be productive adults when we are letting big tech steal, isolating them from reality? And so these 44, to get back to that state attorneys general, AI chatbots, they are not real. They are machines. That over 50% of children admit, children, I mean 18 and under, admit to conversing with them, creating them, dealing with them. Now, remember, if it's over 50%, what do I always tell you? It's probably a lot higher because a lot of this hides in the dark or people don't really admit the truths, but that's over half our kids are engaging with these artificial isolating bots. Again, I call them machines. I don't know if that's right or not. I call them machines. And they're stealing their minds. They're stealing their creativity. They're stealing their critical thinking, their critical analysis. They are stealing our children. What is so hard for everybody in Washington to understand? Why are we fighting? And I have to say, we have some really great people working on this. I don't care. Let me remind everybody, because I take a little bit of heat about this. I will work with anybody I'm an American first, and I will work with anybody doing good legislation. If it's a Republican, great. If it's a Democrat, great. So get your minds out of all that, one way or the other, attacking me or others if we're working with somebody you don't like or perceive. I'm an American. I don't really belong to a political party. I'm an American. I want what's best for families and kids. So I will work with anybody who's on that same path that I'm on. So we want to call out, though. We've got these 44 state attorneys general. Why do we have Texas, Missouri, Kentucky, California, Georgia, Alabama, Missouri wouldn't sign on to this, right? Well, they're going to be called out. They're not allowing these 44 state attorneys general any chatbots. They're going to fight back. So if the federal government comes in, it remains to be seen. I don't want to talk out of school, everybody, what this AI framework might look like. But, we have a lot of big tech bros. Yeah, that's what people are calling them in Washington, kind of running the show. So that is my call to action for you. If you live in any of those states, Texas, Missouri, Kentucky, Georgia, California, or Alabama, reach out. You can go to you can find out who your state attorney's general is. Everything is online. Leverage the internet for good. Write to them. It's 2 sentences. Please support. That's it. Numbers matter. You may not think so. I get that. Well, what does it matter if I vote? What does it matter? It matters a lot. And that's a reminder. We have to keep it up with Kids Online Safety Act, Senate Version 1748. If you are in any states, for instance, are you in New Jersey, any of you? I mean, we have Cory Booker. Write to him right now. I want to know why he will not support the Kids Online Safety Act. Okay, bipartisan. But there's a whole slew of, I'll put them in the body of this video, offices you can contact, especially if you are a constituent, you live in that state. It's most important. But anybody can write to any of these offices. Oh, Fred, you're in Missouri? Okay, well, Fred, you need to be reaching out about the AG there. I'll list in the body of the video later. And also a reminder about Kids Online Safety Act, house.gov, senate.gov. We are working with the administration. We'll have more to fill you in about that coming up soon. But believe you me, as I travel the country and talk to people, they want safety for kids. They want some guardrails for kids. We need to help our parents, not hinder them, again, because we are in this overwhelming environment. But again, that being said, parents, caregivers, guardians, grandparents, because here in New York, I like to say, we have so many different family dynamics here in New York that we work with. We have a lot of grandparents raising kids now. So I want to include everybody. I never just want to say parents, even though that's the majority, right? We do work with fantastic grandparents, where a lot of our support goes into their communities. We don't put all those pictures online. This is private information. I was just dealing with friends of ours that are feeding their baby, and they have to feed this formula. You buy it at the drugstore or the supermarket. Buy it on Amazon if you want, but $61 a can. And if a baby needs 2 cans a week, you do the math. That's $120. And even in the supermarket, Amazon, it's all around the same price. So we'll say $60. That's $120 a week times $480 a week. No wonder it's locked up these days. People are stealing it to feed their babies. Why is something like the necessities of, baby formula, food, diapers? We collect diapers to give away to communities because we have moms who say they only use 2 diapers a day, and then that leads to diaper rash, going to doctors, more put on our medical, right? More things that happen to the child that wouldn't happen medically if they had things like clean diapers. So I'm kind of fed up. I don't like to say that because I'm a warrior, but we have to push back. Everybody has to push back on necessities for people. And why don't we have diapers? Why don't we have tampons, sanitary napkins? Don't get me started. Free of charge, for our kids, for our young people, just things like that kind of thing. And again, the people across the country I've dealt with in the last 2 weeks, good, hardworking American people that need America first. That's all I have to say. Stephen Salty, 853, thank you very much. Lynn and all the warriors, thank you. That you're very lovely to do that. Thank you. That is greatly appreciated. Now, somebody put a comment about breast milk, and only breast milk is good. Here's the thing. Not every woman can breastfeed their baby for different reasons. Some breastfeeding mothers have to supplement their breast milk with formula. There's all kinds of different situations. So you can't just say formula only, breast milk only, right? Every mother has a different situation. I'm saying that, breast milk is breastfeeding is a commitment, right? Some women love it and enjoy it, and others don't. So we can't judge about that kind of thing. But I'm saying essentials, right, for our parents and caregivers should be available. I think so. We have a lot of money for wars and all this other stuff. We should have some money for that. Or maybe in my dream world, because we push back against big tech, again, we're pro-technology, pro-innovation. We work with ethical technologists. There are a lot of solutions to all these problems, just nobody's implementing them. Maybe we could get, big tech to even do programs where they would finance some diapers and baby formula and help with those necessities, okay? When I see people like Mackenzie Scott, uh, where they're giving away their billions and billions, and do a little homework, warriors. I don't want to give you everything. You got to look up. If you don't know who Mackenzie Scott is, I want you to look it up right now. I'm giving you a chance. You can handle 2 devices at once. You can watch and listen to this and use your phone or something. When I see that she gives away billions of her money, and to groups, I guess they're women's groups or gender-based groups that support like pro-sex work. That is so harmful and is so detrimental to society. I mean, I'm going off on a tangent here, but why not give some money for the diapers and the formula and education about sex work? Now, that is a term I don't use. A lot of us don't use sex work. We don't believe in sex workers, sex work. Sex is not work. Work is not sex. We know from studies that many people in prostitution are coerced into it, and that is the definition of human trafficking, sex trafficking. And while we're at it, you could also call this forced sex trafficking. You could also call it labor trafficking. Remember, forced. We don't talk enough about labor trafficking, and that kind of hides much more than the sex. We always talk about the sex trafficking a lot, but why aren't these people with the billions or big tech? They're making no attempt to contribute to things like diapers and formula. Think about that. Fred says she's a very generous giver. Well, to groups she wants to push, but when I just told you, we have the studies now that where we've had legalized prostitution, places like Germany and all that for years. Just do some research again, because I want you warriors to start looking things up. I mean, we do have the internet. We can leverage it for good and find some well-vetted studies. It doesn't work. What it does is just increase, it's supply and demand. It just increases, and the women and there are some men, no better off than, with legalized prostitution. They're worse off. So everybody should understand that even some of these brothels in Nevada that's prostitution. Some of them have chain link fences around them. They're not allowed to leave. They work there. They give all their money over. All kinds of horror stories. Do you want your children growing up in this environment or getting involved in any of that? Okay, Fred, $70 million for Meals on Wheels. That's nice. But I want $70 million for some diapers too. I want to match it. Or formula. Or for groups, for instance, that we work with that scramble. There's a lot of good smaller groups around the country basically working on trafficking. They are volunteers or work for next to nothing, or they have full-time jobs and do this on the side. That, because a lot of funding has been cut recently, and they had the bare minimum anyway, but doing good work, a handful of people in these organizations, they have to go out of business or they can't do it anymore. So why aren't those small groups? We talk about this collaboration a lot in Washington. If I go to one more roundtable, one more conference, one more, I guess those are important, but I'm kind of over it, everybody, because we know we have problems. We know there are solutions, as I mentioned earlier, that should be implemented, need to be financed. For instance, law enforcement. AI could be used for good right now to look for these predators, to look for the servers, which would take man hours. I guess I should say man and woman hours, but would take hours to physically a person to do all this. Now we could do it in minutes. And what do I hear from law enforcement? We don't have the money to buy the programs. It's ridiculous. Our government should be giving them these programs. Okay, America first. I'm going to keep saying that because I'm really not happy with a lot of these things to save our children. And I always want to know. Fred, I know you're saying 640 million available for nonprofits with an open application process. Every person I know who actually went there for their open application process, not one person was acknowledged. And we're talking about a lot of groups. So even though maybe legally you have to say open application process, it's like when you go for jobs and things like that, they already have their person from the company, but they say legally or something, they have to post the job and interview people, but they already have their person picked. It's kind of like that, I dare say. Um, but these small groups should be helped if they're vetted, if they're doing the work, if they need a little, leg up, you need a little bit of money, why aren't we supporting them? That's true collaboration. But, and again, I spoke about law enforcement automatically should be given um, finances for these programs to help with these predators. And I want to know, why a school in our neighborhood, and I get every headline, and so my phone is flooded, my computer with memos are coming in and this and that. And a school just in our neighborhood, a middle school, 33-year-old biology teacher uh, was arrested. That's the good news. CSAM, child sexual abuse material. And it seems like there's such a proliferation, there's such a normalization, habituation, people, all kinds of people just doing this now, right? Like with this child sexual abuse material, collecting it, trading it. We got to shut that down. But here's my question. I First of all, I see these sentences when they are arrested. One got 10 years. Is that enough for ruining dozens of children's lives? Those images are out there forever, right? Uh, unless take it down, unless somebody can find it. But even kids say to me a lot like, well, I deleted the image. No, once on the internet, everybody, and I know it's there forever. It's been captured. Why so many people are doing this and hiding behind these screens. And now it's like open season on kids, and it has been. But here's my question. 8 years for another case I read yesterday, 10 years, that's not enough time for these horrific, I don't even know the word for them, criminals. I don't have another word right now, that destroy children's lives. Where are all these kids coming from? That's what I want to know. We never have a follow-up. Where I was reading about this couple that had this child sex ring. Kids were ages 3 to 15. They were rescued. This was the press release. Where did they come from? Okay. And where's the follow-up? What happens to them? Are they thrown into foster care, which is another mess, right? I think every person, adult, even some my age that went through foster care, group homes, child homes, all reported to me they were re-victimized and re-trafficked in these homes. So are we throwing these kids who are victims into that scenario? It's a mess, but we're going to stay in our lane, right? All of us. We all have a job to do. Our hashtag. Community creates change. Because although I talk a lot about Washington or what we're doing there, because we do need you to sign on to help us get the numbers up, to bring recognition to these issues. A reminder, again, Kids Online Safety Act, Senate version 1748, house.gov, senate.gov. Please just keep flooding. You can go online, find out who represents you if you don't know. Shoot off an email. It takes all of 3 minutes. You can leave a message at their office. If somebody picks up a phone, you can just say, I'm calling in support of. It's so easy, right? And we have the dialogue. If you go to LYNN'sWarriors.org under resources, the scripts you can use. It's so simple, though, and it helps us. But helping us, it's really about the children, helping the children. So we have that going on. But I want to know, I started where this, because I do it all the time, digress, go off on these tangents. We have all this enthusiasm for the Knicks right now in New York City. And we have also enthusiasm for the World Cup. A lot of it happening. They call it New York, New Jersey. It's right across the Lincoln Tunnel. There's a big stadium, the MetLife Stadium. I still call it Giant Stadium. Being born in New Jersey, to me, it's a Giant Stadium. But it's called MetLife, and we have games going on there. So much enthusiasm for our sports and fans and trainloads of people and wearing the Knicks gear and all that. It's fine. I don't want to take away from that. But I wish we had an ounce of that 1% of that for protecting our kids in America, for standing up to our legislators, standing up to our communities, standing up these predators. We will not accept what's going on. We will not accept big tech being unregulated. We will not accept our children being preyed on. Why isn't everybody standing up for our kids? Um, why is it so hard? Yes, it's an ugly subject, and sports are kind of happy and fun and groupthink and all that. But I'm going to keep reminding you until I drop dead someday that our precious children are being controlled, are being stolen from us, are being manipulated. And let's get back to that national security threat. These groups infiltrating online, especially with our teen boys, and who are feeling, a lot of them left out. It's awkward anyway to be a teenager, whether you're a girl or a boy, and capturing their minds or thinking they're part of a group, online, and it's a family, or and isolating them, and then putting these bad ideas into their heads. Right? That group 764. There's others out there like that. It's like cults. These cults really going after our kids. Our kids are not for sale. Okay, we've got to take to the streets, so to speak, and fight this, and you have to join us. We've got 156 people watching. I don't care if one person watches me. I don't care if 1,000 people watch me. I don't care, because if we, people say to me all the time, like, why do you do this? Right? Um, Thank you, Edie. Member for 21 months. Edie's been with me from the beginning. We love you, Lynn. Well, Edie, we love you. Edie sends terrific artwork and messages of hope that we share with survivors, and all kinds of things that means the most to these survivors, right? When they see somebody cares about them. I've had women say to me, or girls, oh, somebody's thinking about me. And I'm like, yeah, somebody's thinking about you. So again, I went off on something, but if we just had some of this enthusiasm that we have for sports, we know this is ugly and dark, what we talk about in the Warriors. It's a national security threat. These are our kids being stolen from us. I'm sounding the alarm, which I'm doing every day. Get on board. Be part of it. Everybody can and must do something. Those days of doing nothing, I don't care the smallest thing. I mean, Edie's been a member for 21 months. Edie sends artwork. There's all kinds of little things you find out in your community. You don't understand? There's something in your community. I know there is. Write to me, lynn@lynnswarriors.org. I'll direct you in the right direction. It's not always about money. Yes, we need money to run education programs, to also support students, like our beautiful group, the Wonder Girls, our after-school program for middle, high school, and college age young women, where it's real empowerment. And I'm here to say, I'm on the board of the Wonder Girls. I work with them extensively, and I wouldn't waste my time, because I don't have any time, but I wouldn't if it didn't work. So this is where the monies go. But you know what? It can be about giving a little time, being listening to somebody. It can be about, going to the dollar store and buying a few items, supplying them to a local charity that you might have. But I want to say, let's start in the home. Let's start with, we all have digital devices pretty much in our homes. The last report, which I always tell you about, kids have access to 4 devices, ages 9 to 17, the laptops, the Chromebooks, the gaming, the phones, all this stuff. So you have a tremendous responsibility to know what's going on in your home, to talk to your kids. Kids are smart. Kids are savvy. We have 9-year-olds buying burner phones at gas stations. Like, you've got to be on top of things. You've got to talk to them on a daily basis. 5 minutes here, 3 minutes there. Put those security features on, lock it down. But it starts with also that family digital partnership. Okay? It's okay to say there are a lot of creeps online. Every child will tell you, teens especially, when we go into classrooms or any kind of groups, they will all raise their hands, because they always do with me, that, how many have been approached online sexually? Every hand goes up. Especially girls will be deluged with inappropriate images and dialogue right away, which, again, we got to lock down our devices as far as friends only. Talk to your kids. The kids are seeking love and attention. Teens also, with the hormones again. You got to get on top of this, warriors. I'm afraid. I'm afraid for our kids. So now we've got all of this AI talk. Um, we've got, I just want to say, Steven says something here. Steven Salty 853. I just want to go back on this. Cartoons are not what parents think. Took me a minute, but I see the complete disruption of our children within the messages they are pushing. Stephen, you're absolutely right, because a study was done about Netflix and content that's deemed for children. Uh, and parents mostly go by like ratings, right? Or they think something's, they're told, made for a child. They're trusting that it's okay. So they'll cook in the kitchen or let their child watch that cartoon, right? The child's quiet. Come on, everybody, this is reality. You want to get some work done, whatever. Um, but the study done about Netflix, I think it was 43% of the content. Oh, I know. It was Concerned Women for America, our great friend. We did an interview together, and they did the report, the study. And I think, don't hold me to this, but it was 40 something. I think it was 43% of the content that is deemed for children, like had sexual content and had, transgender characters, transberry and strawberry shortcake and sexual innuendo. And actually, the argument, if you could call it that, was not for Concerned Women for America for this, right? Was with the FTC was do correct ratings. If you're going to have that kind of content, let that be up to the parent to decide my child can watch it or not. Put true ratings on things. But and I know music, performance, Broadway, which I have a background in with producing music, doing jingles for commercials years ago, some film scores. I didn't know it at the time, right? But now I know all of it's connected. And now we have online world available to our children, to everybody. There's so much sexual content. And when there's so much, it becomes normalized. So people are looking for the next thrill all the time, right? What can top this? And it hurts me to say this. The demand is for children. And the younger and younger and younger, I'm going to leave it at this, the better. And we cannot allow this. And again, where are these children coming from? What's happening to them? Sentencing, so this is about the justice system. 8 and 10 years is not appropriate. Ruining children's lives, ruining families. Yes, desensitized, you're right. But we can't be desensitized. Do you want me to bring you to a baby farm? Do you want me to talk about things that, organ harvesting, things we don't really touch upon because of algorithms that are going on in our country, not other countries. When I started this, because I couldn't believe when I started the Warriors, what is happening. And I wanted to talk about it, and I wanted to educate people, and I wanted to help people. Because in entertainment, it's always about other countries, helping them. Trafficking's happening. Philippines, Thailand, China. We need water in Africa. It was always about other countries. And then I realized this is happening right around the corner. Yes, I'm in New York City, but this exploitation and trafficking is happening in every town, city, and rural area across America, facilitated a lot by the internet, but also facilitated by not always that white van we've been talking about for years, but familial trafficking by family members or by somebody the family knows, getting that child or family member involved in trafficking. We should be talking about all these issues out in the open, right? We should be talking about the pornography that's flooding the internet that our kids are seeing on a daily basis. Remember, once seen, you can't unsee. We have 5-year-olds seeing these things. Now, why a 5-year-old needs to be on the internet, again, there's parental autonomy. You can choose. But remember, delay is the way kind of thing. Why does a child need a phone before 8th grade? And even then, you can get a phone that just has texting and phone calling. You don't have the internet on it. We should be talking about all these issues. And when parents say to me, I don't want to open that can of worms, excuse me, the can is open. Okay, it's out of the can because the kids are seeing it anyway. The algorithms, big tech has designed it. So a child can innocently be looking up a subject. I guarantee you a few clicks later, it's pornography. It's something they never thought of, sexual. It directs them down a path. Kids are curious. Nothing wrong with that. We're all curious. And they're going to look and they're going to see, and they're going to keep clicking and they're going to keep swiping. I actually call it like the swipe generation, right? Because the teachers have always reported they can't hold the pencils, they can't track when they read, they can't have comprehension or critical thinking. And now we got AI on top of it. And you know, and I know a lot of kids are going to and they are using, because teachers are like, especially I'm thinking of one, she's like, the fifth graders, their essays were not from them. This is obviously Chat GPT. So we've got our work cut out for us, but it's all good. So we're going to clean up this conversation right now. You're going to get a little homework because that's what I like to do in the Warriors. First of all, June 23rd, DC. If you live in the area, if you want to go to Social Media Victims Remembrance Day, you are welcome. You can contact Lynn at LYNN'Swarriors.org. I'm posting about it. You'll see the website. You can also just be part of it by contributing, okay? And contributing can be you share it on one of your platforms to get the word out. That helps us tremendously. We have that coming up. Keep your eye on preemption we're going to be talking about, and our 44 state attorneys general. That'll be a segment coming up this Sunday. Every Sunday morning, I do the national edition of the Cats Roundtable on WABC Radio. That's out of New York City, but over 200 affiliates, goes around the world, talking about these issues, and kudos to them, John Katsimatidis and WABC Radio, for supporting the Warriors, for always wanting to share what I talk about with the audience, because as I told him the other day, I think it's really the only media outlet that consistently gives voice to. I do a weekly segment also on Another Side of Midnight with my better half, my husband Lionel. I do that every Saturday morning at 2:30 a.m. talking about these issues because WABC Radio wants to showcase child safety. They are big supporters of ours. So great big shout out to them understanding this. Yeah, you might see stories on cable news or radio, oh, Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, okay, online safety. Okay, here and there. But you're not consistently seeing segments weekly about these issues. And we'll have more on this media. We have some things we're cooking with. Is that what I'm saying? Stay tuned with the Warriors and media, because information is really key, is gold for you, because everybody is busy. Who has time to, we work on this full time. Well, that's what I want to say about roundtables and conferences. It's all the people who know about this already. And I'm always saying, how do we get all of this information out into the public? So we need you, House.gov, Senate.gov, to write and say, please support Kids Online Safety Act, Senate version 1748. We also need you to really think about, if you see something, say something, know that kind of chain of command, report 911, 1-800, call FBI, local FBI offices take up these cases. Make sure you know about the Take It Down Act and FTC, LYNN'Swarriors.org, where you can report a deep fake. We got to keep up with all of this. And what I want to finish with is thanking all of you. Wait, Stephen, let me make sure I didn't miss anything. Stephen Salty, 853, I'm planning to go to New Jersey next to visit family. Would love to take yourself and Lionel for a meal and really get insight and perhaps spread the message. Stephen, you're getting insight right now. We'd love to have a meal with you. I don't know. And I love New Jersey, my home state, everybody. But I'm not sure about the governor there these days. But that's another story for another program. But we can discuss that. The insight is that everybody has to get involved. The insight is you have to share these messages we give you on your platforms to get the word out there. If you have kids or grandkids, you got to talk to them. That's the messaging. And you have to participate in your community one way or the other. I don't care if it's through a church, a synagogue. Get into those schools, ask what your kids are learning. What are they doing about AI? Right? Oh, that's a whole nother program about iReady. I did a video on that. So go back here in the Warriors and look for that. How this program iReady is thrown at everybody. You do not have to have kids on Chromebooks in classrooms. Some schools will tell you, a lot of schools will tell you, oh, this is the only way we work. But parents themselves have started a movement, pencil to paper, where you get your textbook. Old-fashioned, everybody. And you get a package of papers for your assignments. So that's something else. You got to have the information, Warriors. So I want to thank everybody for being here, for joining us. Keep the messaging going. Understand that, and for those of you, I want to say, who came out to our event at the mall at Short Hills in New Jersey and purchased our Warriors bracelet through Little Words Project, who chose us for the months of April, May, and June to be their nonprofit, that they would support, and every purchase supports human trafficking survivors or survivor leaders. Remember, I haven't been trafficked or exploited. I had a very good childhood in New Jersey, great parents, great family. I just, because people say, why you do this? Well, how do you go from music or Broadway to this? Because I find it at my age unacceptable that we're allowing this. We're allowing the destruction of our kids and our American families. And I'm going to do everything in my power to change that. And if we help one person, one child, one family a day, we've done our jobs at the Warriors. I want you to think about that as well. Stephen Salty 853, we will talk. Edie, thank you always. Thank you. Let me make sure I got everybody. Edie, I can't believe 21 months already. Time is really flying by. Do you think that happens when you get older? The time just speeds up. Stephen Salty 853. I'm curious what that 853 is, but we'll find out. Maybe it's your birthday, 853. Thank you for your donation. Let us all come together, make a commitment that right in our own home, community, again, you might not have kids, but you have family that has kids, you have friends that have kids. These are issues we're going to keep an eye on. You see something, you say something, because remember, your gut is usually right. So with that, I want to say, again, thank you, everybody. LYNN'sWarriors.org. Community creates change. I'm going to leave you with this. When you wake up each and every day, you got to have the mindset of going out and be a warrior. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk again soon.